so much for coming in today. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Yep. Hey Julie, how's it going?
It's good, it's good. So, what's been happening this week? What can we talk through?
School, stressful. I had a 10-page paper due last Friday.
Wow.
Friday night, that was crazy big. Got it done though, so that's good. But now I have another research paper due in a week and a half.
Okay.
So I'll have to work on that through Thanksgiving break. Not ideal, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yeah. So, what paper is that class for?
Significance of women in Christian culture.
Okay, neat.
Yeah. So it's an okay class. It's good. I mean, it's part of my major, so it's necessary and helpful.
Right.
But a lot of it has been church history, and that can be boring at times. And it's a 3-hour night class, and I'm not a night person.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
3 hours of church history.
Yeah. She does kind of like break it up and like plays videos sometimes, and then we laugh at the videos. But
Okay.
yeah.
So, we'll talk about school. Is it stressing? Is the paper coming up stressing you? I know that's kind of something we had talked about.
Yeah, I think mostly it's just like time management has been like the theme of my whole college career, but especially this semester, just because I'm doing an internship now and I have 2 part-time jobs and all my classes. So it's just been a lot trying to figure out like where to fit things into my schedule and to still find time to like rest and just take a step back and breathe, because that's not easy for me. I'm not good at self-care at all. But like just with the end of the semester, trying to figure out how to get everything done, because for that class I have 3 big assignments due. So I have the paper, and then the next week I have not the next week, the week after, I have a timeline I have to do on like there's 10 different periods of women in Christian history, and I have to take 10 from each. So it's 100 people I have to like put on a timeline. So that's intense. And then just the finals, getting ready for those, and then another paper for my CML class, philosophy of teaching. So that'll be good. Those are easier papers because it's my opinion, but it's just still another thing. And then I've added on internship hours because I realized I need to get more hours because I don't have enough.
Oh no.
And I know like I'm doing it this semester and next semester, but I have to have 150 hours total. And so far I only have 40 something. So that's not great. So I'm gonna be like going 3 times a week or more to internship now instead of 2 times a week. And that takes away time from doing homework and paper writing. So
So that time management piece is more important.
Yeah, it's stressful. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you said you have 3 papers for just that, or 3 projects for just that one class. What are your other classes looking like?
Business class hasn't been terrible. I have one of the like normal assignments, like the last one due tomorrow. I'll probably do that today. But that class has been getting frustrating because the teacher who's supposed to be teaching isn't teaching, but they won't tell us why. So I'm kind of confused, and I want to know because I'm supposed to have him teach my class next semester for accounting, and we're going over the accounting section. And the teacher who we have now has been saying like, oh yeah, I'm not like great with accounting. And I'm like, why are you teaching us then? And it's just a lot of miscommunication and lack of communication, and I like talk to him about it. Like I email him and then talk to him about it in class, after class. And he was like, yeah, I think I'll like address some stuff Tuesday. And I'm like, okay, hopefully that helps. But honestly, it's just been really frustrating because it's a lot of stuff I don't understand and I don't feel like he's actually teaching it. I'm like, I want you to teach me because that's what I'm paying for. To learn how to do this so that I know how to do it like in my life. And so there's like an assignment due at the end of the semester for that.
For the accounting piece.
Yeah, we have to like for each of our groups we have to show our like income statement or something. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. So we've been like kind of piecing it together as we go along, but
your group has or the class as a whole?
both because all the all the groups in the class.
Okay.
Because like last week we had to present what we had so far, and we were like, what?
Okay.
We don't like have anything. So
Right. Like you have your professor, your kind of your fill-in professor hasn't really addressed that.
yes and no in his own way. Like I emailed him all my like worries and like stuff, and he said to me, he's like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, that is not the answer I want. Like I want someone to be like, explain something to me, like even if it's not a big deal, because obviously from his perspective it isn't a big deal, and don't worry about it because he's in control and he knows. And like I want to have some control because like I'm paying for this and I want to feel like I'm actually learning something, because otherwise I'm going to feel like I'm wasting my time.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, and then my history class, that major paper's done, so that's weight off my back. And then there's 2 like smaller papers, but those shouldn't be too hard. It's just like reading and then answering or like responding to the reading, and then the final.
Okay.
So and then that's, yeah, the only other class is my CML class, and that paper, and then there's a small paper along with that too, like a few little assignments. It's not terrible, it's just trying to figure out the time to fit all these things into
Yeah.
in advance. So, yeah.
So how have you kind of tackled time management previously?
Well, this semester I've like utilized the Ally Center a lot. Like I always use the calendar thing. This semester it didn't help as much just because a lot of my assignments were reading, and they weren't necessarily do it by a date. It was like get it done kind of stuff.
Right.
And then one of my classes doesn't even use Schoology, so that kind of sucked.
Wow, that's really
It
hard.
was really frustrating. It's still frustrating because I like look at like my assignments that are coming up, and I'm like, oh, I only have 2, and I'm like, nope, this paper's due next week, but I don't see that on here. I have to like mentally remind myself. I always feel like I'm forgetting something, and that like unnerves me.
But using that calendar has worked previously, and it's not
Yeah.
really working.
I am not using it and like looking at it as often as I have in past semesters, just because like it hasn't, it's like it's there for me and it's kind of helpful to glance at and be like, oh, these things are coming up, but I know there's other things that I don't really know how to describe it. But and then I like went to the Ally Center and tried to have help with like time management stuff. So like every week I have my schedule printed out, and I like plot out my time and put in like, this is what I'm gonna do, and that kind of helps. But like realistically, you get to that time frame and you're like, oh well, this came up and this came up, and oh, I had to go grocery shopping because I live off campus, so
Right.
I have more responsibilities to do. So yeah, it has been helpful, and it's not like I'm doing nothing, but it's frustrating to me because I'm a perfectionist. So
Okay.
I'm like, I just want this to be fine and get it over with and done. I mean, I'm thankful for Thanksgiving break coming up, but I'm ready for the semester to be over.
I understand. Me too.
Yeah.
And are you going home for Thanksgiving break?
Not home, but to my brother's house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and my parents are gonna come down. So that's change of plans, but it's gonna be helpful because I don't have to drive as much.
Yeah, I was gonna say less time in cars. always
Exactly.
good.
Yeah, and I'm hopefully gonna go to his house after class on Tuesday night,
Oh, nice.
and then I can use Wednesday as like homework time
Mhm.
because my brother's at work and my parents aren't coming till evening. So
Okay.
really good, hopefully.
Yeah.
If I can like stay structured, because I think I've been like not as disciplined as I normally am. Like in some ways, in other ways I am, but like in some ways I've just been like, you know what, like I need to self-care, so I'm gonna go watch Netflix. I'm like, probably not a wise idea, but
Okay. And you mentioned kind of at the beginning that self-care is something you struggle with a bit.
yeah. I think part of that is just because that wasn't the way I was raised, like, because as Christians you're supposed to care for others and love others and stuff, but I think there is a balance. All of life is a balance. I hate it and I love it. But having that push so much to like serve others and care for others and do things for others to help them there wasn't as much of a like impact of promoting self-care.
Right.
And so that's something that I've been learning the past couple semesters, and just like how if I'm not at my best, I can't help others well. And that's something I want to do, so I've got to learn how to use my time wisely, like in general, but also like take time out. So like even my supervisor for my internship has been really cool in that, and she made me take a retreat last week.
Okay.
Yeah, last week or 2 weeks ago. So I went for like an hour. I went to a park and just walked around, and just, it was a beautiful day, and it was fall, and it was so nice. And then I took another hour and just did like some like painting, and it was really nice because it was like me, and I was able to be me.
Yeah.
And not just push me away and get all this stuff done.
Right.
Because I think that's what happens a lot. Like, I've really noticed that my creative side has really gotten squashed because I'm in school and I have to do all this other stuff that isn't offhanded, like, specifically creative.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
it can be, and I could be more creative with my assignments, but who has the time for that?
Yeah. And from what you said, there's so much going on that
Yeah.
it's like a rush to get everything done.
Yeah. And it's hard too because I know, like, with myself, like, I always try to do the best in everything I'm doing. So I spread myself really thin, like, obviously, like, internship jobs and school, and then friends and, like, home life and stuff. There's always something going on. And I like to be busy, but learning also that I can't, like, it's okay if something's good enough and not perfect.
Yeah.
And being okay with that kind of plays into that as well.
Yeah, that's super important. That's something I've been implementing more in my life, is being okay with not reaching perfection.
Yeah.
I think that's a really wise thing to meditate on. I kind of want to hone in on that a little bit. What are some ways that you have been saying, okay, it's okay not to be perfect?
Well, so this semester with my classes, they're super reading heavy, and I haven't been doing a ton of the reading.
Okay.
And that, like, kills me because I'm like, that's not okay. That's really wrong. And, like, part of that is, like, integrity, and I don't want to, like, I'm hoping that there is no thing at the end of the semester that says, like, how much percentage did you read? Because I'm not about to lie on that, but I also don't want it to affect my grades. I'm like, 50%? Like, hopefully. But I think that might be one, because I've kind of just been like, okay, you know what, at this point I can't even catch up on all that reading now, so I'm going to actually work on the assignments that are worth more. So I kind of like last month was like crazy and just really stressful with school and stuff, and trying to work through all these things, and like actually looking at the percentage points of things, because I don't normally do that, because I didn't even know that was a thing until here, that people did that, because I was like, no, you get an assignment given, you do it like 100%, right? People are like, you don't have to, because it's only worth 10% of your grades, so whatever. And that's still such a foreign concept to me, and I don't want to, like, because I'm always worried that, like, once I accept something like that, I'll just slide completely into it and I'll be super lazy. I don't know if that's a reality or just like a worry. Probably just a worry, because I don't think with my perfectionist mentality I'd be able to do that. But I think that's one area that I've kind of just been like, you know what, at this point it's not a big deal anymore. Small percentage of the grade, just work on the big assignments, which are really worth all of that. And then also I think what I've been really trying to focus on is the fact that, like, yes, the grade matters, but no, the grade doesn't matter, and how I should really just be focusing on what I'm learning and, like, what God's teaching me through all these assignments, because a lot of the time, like, I learn from the assignments, I learn from the classes, but I learn a lot more through it all, and just, like, what God teaches me in the stress and stuff, of, like, okay, be patient, let God take control, and just, like, give my anxieties to Him, because, like, He cares for us. Yeah.
That's a really great mindset to have. And so I asked you, like, what some areas of not letting yourself, I don't know, I guess I was reading a book one time, and it talked about shooting for mediocre, because we know we're not going to reach perfection, right? So kind of aiming for mediocre, and if you go above that, awesome. And if you hit mediocre, like, great, you pass, kind of thing. So and you said reading was kind of one of those ways. Are there other ways that you've kind of been looking at things and saying, I'm going to go for mediocre on this?
I'm not sure. Because honestly, it's like, even you saying it, and I'm like, no, can't do that. Can't do that. Nope. Mediocre is not okay.
Right.
So I think it's still something I'm fighting against. And I don't think that's inherently bad, but it's not healthy all the time.
Right.
So I don't know I can think of really any specific thing if I'm even doing it.
Yeah.
Alright.
So I'm going to use the whiteboard because
Okay.
they are my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Every time I see them, I get a little happy. So. I don't know. I'm not really sure how to spell mediocre, but we're gonna go with it.
Okay.
So this is kind of a belief that you have, like, mediocre's not okay. I can't do that, right? Would you say that's accurate? Okay, from what I was hearing, that's
At least in most of areas of my life.
right. So I want to talk a little bit more about that because I think that's important. And you've also said things like it's okay to not be perfect. The grades are important, but not really important. So talk to me a little bit about what mediocrity really is to you and what that looks like.
Mediocre to me just is like, it's not even good enough. It's like below that level, like it's subpar. It's, yeah. Because that's what mediocre is. It's like, well, it's kind of there. It's like just barely there.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So, so if mediocre isn't good enough, what is good?
I mean, I don't know that that's something I can like put into words.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Right. So if you're, maybe rephrase so that it's a little more clear.
Okay.
So if you're saying that kind of that shooting for mediocrity is just like, no, can't do that. That is like, that would be, and kind of what I'm hearing is essentially failing.
Well, not quite. I mean, it's not failing.
Okay.
Because that's a bit extreme. That would be like what I used to be like.
Okay.
But no, I think to answer your question, I think I'm kind of, it would be like shooting for not mediocrity, but shooting for above average.
Above average. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. That's good. So, and you think, sorry, whiteboards are never large enough. All right, so if we were to like make a scale of like 1 to 10, like failing would obviously be like a 1, in this mediocrity would be like a 3, 4, is that? And then above average is like a 6, 7, and then perfection is obviously 10. And then there's kind of some range in there for movement. Is that, am I understanding kind of the definition?
I mean, technically, I guess mediocre be in the middle, but yeah, I think I'm thinking it's more of a 3, 4. Yeah.
Right.
And then above average would be like 7, 8.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I'm glad I understand that. So, if mediocre is a 3, 4, and you said actually a minute ago that you used to think that mediocre was failing. Explain that a little bit to me.
So in high school and like after high school, just I realized the way I treated school and and also the Christian life. I was super legalistic, and I think that kind of played on my perfectionistic tendencies.
Okay.
So that's why, like, that would have been so much worse then,
Right.
because I was so legalistic in things, and just being like, it's like either here or there. It's like nowhere in between. It's like you can't even get to this, but you have to get to this.
Okay. So anything less than perfection is failing.
Pretty much.
Kind of was
Yeah.
your mindset. Wow.
Yeah.
And it seems like you've come a long way from that, from a 0 to a 4 in mediocre. That's really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's true. I don't always see that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really awesome.
God's really been working on me through people and just teaching me grace. Grace has been a huge thing. Like a couple years ago, God just really like kept pushing that into my life, and the fact that like yes, I've been saved most of my life, but like I haven't fully accepted the beauty and the fullness of His grace because I've been legalistic and taken a lot like that I'm still not like, because I feel like I still have so many things I need to do that I'm not like fully accepting all of His grace. And that was something that He really showed me a couple years ago, and I was like, wow. And because it mostly came up because I realized that I wasn't showing other people grace, and I was realizing that I wasn't showing others grace because I wasn't accepting God's grace. So that's really
What a powerful thing
Yeah.
to understand.
it was kind of crazy. I was like kind of mad, but kind of happy at the same time.
Okay.
Because it's helpful to know that. It's always helpful to at least realize things.
Right.
Sometimes you don't even know how to deal with them, but definitely I like my DC Rachel helped me a lot with that. Just understanding grace and it not being like letting people go and not like confronting them with their sin, but being like loving towards them and giving them a second chance kind of thing.
Yeah.
And realizing that I need to do that for myself.
Yeah.
And let God give me the grace He has given me.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful thing for you because, talking about legalism, that's a lot of times just mostly. There are some people that are super legalistic outward, but mostly it's a lot inside them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was something when I was doing it was very inward, but it was starting to become outward, and that was becoming an issue because a lot of people are like, "What the heck? What's wrong with you? You're like so prim and proper, stiff, like goody two shoes, kind of." And it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I think in many ways that can be good because it can be a conviction type thing, but when it's like me being legalistic, it's not good. So it's better now because I'm not as legalistic. So
And it seems like you have much more of a heavenly mindset and wanting to do things because of Christ, not for Him necessarily. Kind of what I'm hearing in that.
I try for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, no one can reach perfection. So we talked about a lot here, and I'm gonna clear off my board so that I can use it again. What I really want to hone in on is this kind of this idea of above average. Just for a minute, because we are almost done here. We're getting close on time, and I do have another person coming in after this, so I want to be respectful of your time and their time. So above average, you talked about kind of that being in the 7-8 area. Would you say that this is kind of where you shoot for in your schoolwork, in your spiritual life, kind of across the board?
I mean, I normally shoot for perfection, but I guess I settle for above average.
Okay. What would it be like for you to shoot for above average and say, you know what, in this assignment, I'm going for above average because I know I can get there? What would it be like for you?
I think maybe it would be not being as concerned about the grade, but being like, okay, what can I really learn out of this? Like, how can I put a lot of effort in, not so that I get a good grade or so that my professor, like, sees that I'm a really great person or whatever, all that's mixed into it, but, like, how much, like, because that's how it is. Like, we get out as much as we put in. So if you're not willing to put in the work, then you're not going to get anything out of it, really. So I think just seeing that if I put more work in, I can learn more from it. Not to get the grade, but to get the knowledge.
Right, okay. So, spelling is not my best grade in school. So, wow, that's really awesome that you can pinpoint that, because I think that's so true. What are some ways you think that you could actively shoot for above average? And how would that affect your stress level?
I think I don't know, I'm thinking even now, like, just when I look at my syllabus in the first, like, looking at it and not being stressed out, but looking at it being like, okay, I know God's gonna teach me a lot this semester, and I know He's gonna, like I'm going to learn so much through all these assignments, and just having that mentality of being, like, praying through it and being like, okay, Lord, just help me at the beginning of the semester, like, to just continually look through it as not the grade, but what I can learn. I think that would be something I could actively do.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea. I should do that.
And how would that affect your stress level?
If I was consistent in that, it would probably be take my stress level down a lot, because like I said before, the grade does matter, and that puts on a lot of stress, but at the same time it doesn't, because it is about what we're learning. Because like, I don't have to have a perfect GPA to learn a lot.
Right.
Like, I learn a lot in work, and I don't, like, the only thing I get out of that is pay or fun times or whatever. So it's not all about the GPA and the grade.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, if I could consistently do that, then I might not be stressed.
Yeah. So kind of the key phrase that I heard there was, what can I guess focusing on what God is going to teach me instead of the grade outcome.
Yeah.
So what would it look like to implement that kind of belief into your daily life? Because you said if I do it consistently, what could that look like? I don't know, maybe like a constant reminder. I don't make sticky notes to myself or something. Okay.
And it's a little, like, simple, I guess. But, like, if it's something that I can see every day, it could probably remind me, like, that it's not about my grades.
Yeah.
And it's about, like, what God's got in store for me.
That's
So.
awesome. So does that sound like something you could maybe implement even at the end of the semester where you have these few assignments coming up?
Probably.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And would you be able to do that on your own? Is that something you can just like, I can do this? Or would kind of some accountability on that be helpful for you?
Probably could do it on my own.
Okay.
And if I ever needed help, I'd probably, like, ask my roommate.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
That you have someone right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so I would love to get back together in about a week. About a week. So we'll go actually after Thanksgiving break. We'll get back together. I want to hear about kind of how that sticky note situation helped. And we'll meet back again. So it's not good. Cool. All right. Thank you so much, Annika. Have a great rest of your day. It's Julie.